On a sluggish Sunday afternoon, Linda decided to clear out the dusty boxes in her basement. Sunlight trickled through the narrow windows, illuminating specks of dust in the stale air. She had lived in the house for years, long enough to call it home. Yet a nagging unease always lingered whenever she ventured below. Despite the summer warmth upstairs, the basement felt unnaturally cold. Brushing away a shiver of apprehension, Linda carefully descended the creaking steps. Her life was as ordinary as it got work bills, the occasional weekend barbecue. She never expected the horror that lay just beneath her feet. That evening, while she sorted through an old trunk of faded photographs, Linda heard it, a faint scratching noise coming from behind the brick wall. At first, she assumed it was a loose pipe or a small animal, but the sound continued, like nails scraping across stone. Her heart beat faster. When she pressed her ear to the wall, the scratching stopped. In its place, an unsettling silence took over, so absolute that it made her ears ring. Nervously laughing at herself, Linda brushed off the encounter, trying to ignore the prickling sense of dread crawling over her skin. Morning arrived with a burst of sunlight and the cheerful chirping of birds. Linda stood in her bright kitchen, a fresh cup of coffee in hand, feeling the normality of a new day. She shook off last night's jitters with a small smile, telling herself that her imagination had simply run wild in the dim basement. Work emails flooded her inbox, and errands occupied her afternoon. By day's end, the unsettling memory of the basement had all but faded, nearly convincing her that everything truly was normal. That evening, Linda returned to the basement, determined to finish her organizing and banish any lingering fears. While shifting a heavy cabinet, she discovered a thin crack running across the brick sexly where she had heard the scratching. The mortar looked uneven, and the bricks had been placed in an odd pattern. Her pulse quickened as she pried them loose with a crowbar. One by one, bricks fell away, revealing a narrow tunnel beyond. A foul, musty odor drifted up through the darkness. Her flashlight flickered as it revealed a staircase spiraling deeper into the earth. Linda took cautious steps down the hidden passageway. Each footfall echoed hollowly, amplifying her growing sense of dread. The air felt thick and stale, as though it had not been disturbed for centuries. Symbols carved into the damp walls seemed to shift in the beam of her flashlight, twisted shapes merging human and animal forms, accompanied by runic markings she couldn't decipher. A low hum vibrated through the tunnel, growing louder with each step. The hair on the back of her neck stood on end, as if an unseen presence was following her every move. Eventually, she reached a cramped chamber far below the house. In its center stood a stone altar streaked with dark residue. Linda froze at the sight of a crouched figure in the corner, a silhouette huddled in flickering candlelight. Her flashlight revealed rotting flesh clinging to bone, with eyes sunken yet disturbingly alive. Before her horrified gaze, the figure began to twist and contort, morphing from a hollow-eyed woman to a beastly creature with elongated limbs, then into a seething mass of tentacles. A voice, laden with multiple tones, reverberated through the chamber. You opened the door. Now you belong to us. The stone floor quaked, and rivulets of blood traced patterns on the walls. The abomination lurched forward, talons scraping on the floor. A tumult of voices crying, chanting, pleadings whirled around Linda's head, relentless and overpowering. She fumbled for a makeshift weapon and grabbed a corroded metal rod, swinging it wildly. A tortured howl tore from the creature's many mouths, momentarily driving it back. Seizing the chance, Linda sprinted for the spiral stairs. She ascended in panic, lungs burning, as the entity's chants echoed behind her. Bursting into the basement, she shoved a heavy shelf across the opening and frantically replaced the bricks, sweat dripping into her eyes. Breath ragged, Linda slumped against the newly sealed wall. At first, a wave of relief washed over her, but as the days passed, the hushed scritch-scritch from behind the bricks returned. In her nightmares, she heard the chanting its words, foreign and terrible. Sometimes, she spotted a flicker of movement beneath the basement door at night. ... She knew the truth now. That presence wasn't trapped below. She was trapped above it.